Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today we are looking at another very exciting card from the upcoming Dragonstorm expansion. It's that rubber ring thing that I said, and you can go back and check the video, was going to be something to do with retreating, and I feel a little bit vindicated here. It's called Switching Raft, apparently, and it was translated by the lovely David Hockman himself over at limitlesstcg.com. Lovely man, lovely translations, and my go-to source for new translations. So it does have something to do with switching, as we predicted. Switch your active water Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, and then heal 30 damage from that Pokemon. We are healing the one that switched to the bench, not the one that switched into the active, which of course makes perfect sense, because the one switching into the active probably won't be damaged and need healing, whereas we expect the one switching from the active will be damaged and will need healing. It is, for water Pokemon only, a switch combined with a potion. It's two trainer cards matched together into one, but only for water Pokemon. And of course, this should instantly remind a bunch of you about Rough Seas. Now, Rough Seas, I miss Rough Seas. It was a great stadium for water Pokemon. It meant you could heal 30 damage from each of your water or lightning Pokemon during your turn. This is not a replacement for Rough Seas. This is a one-shot 30 damage for one of your Pokemon, not a 30 damage from all of them every turn. It's not as good, but it is still kind of good. Potion has seen play in the past. Switch has seen play in the past. So I see no reason why an item card that combines the two of them would not also see a little bit of play. And to be honest, at the moment, a lot of these water Pokemon are getting quite a lot of help. We don't have Rough Seas, but we do have Brooklet Hill, which is a great card for searching out your water Pokemon, putting them straight onto the bench, as long as they're inactive. Not to mention the fact that we've got Aqua Patch for accelerating energy at the moment. And let's not sleep on Wake. Boom, nailed it. Which, as long as you discard 2 basic water energy from your hand, will allow you to search for any 2 cards. Water Pokemon are getting love at the moment, and this is just one more example of it. But of course, the big question here is it better than the switching options that we already have? Now, if we look at Switch, the answer is yes. Straight away, it is better than Switch because you get to heal as well. But is it better than Guzma? The thing about Guzma is, it is a supporter, it's your one supporter for the turn, which is a little bit of a pain, but it also allows you to drag a Pokemon off of the bench, what we call a gusting effect, in honor of Gust of Wind, which was the very first card that did this, and gusting effects have always been amongst the most powerful in the game. But you can't always use this, because sometimes you need to play a supporter like a Professor Sycamore. Or sometimes you need to play a Professor Sycamore to look for a switching card. And if you play a Professor Sycamore looking for a switching card, if you draw a switching raft, yay, I can switch. If you don't draw a switching raft, boo. You can't switch, because you cannot play a Guzma after a Professor Sycamore unless you're in Expanded and have the Dual Brains Magnezone out, which I don't think that you do. We've also got Escape Rope, which forces you and your opponent to switch. This has seen almost no play lately. Because of stuff like Guzma, Escape Rope has seen almost no play, which is interesting. Because Escape Rope used to be called Warp Point. And when Escape Rope was Warp Point back in the day, Warp Point saw a huge amount of play. So the fact that Warp Point used to see play and Escape Rope is now seeing almost no play may well hint at the fact, and by hint I mean just tell us outright, that these switching item cards are not seeing a huge amount of play at the moment. That may fare fairly badly for Switching Raft. And of course then we've got the big one, Floatstone. Huge downside of Floatstone, you've got to play it as your tool on a Pokemon, so something like a Choice Band could not be played along with it. Huge bonus of playing Floatstone, just gives any Pokemon free retreat, and sure, your opponent can use a Field Blower to get rid of it, but worst case scenario, you've just had one retreat off a Floatstone, the same as you would with something like a Switching Raft, and then your opponent's got rid of it, but you've used it to switch once. Anything more than that really is a little bit of a bonus. And that really is kind of where we come down with Switching Raft at the moment. There are other cards that we're going to use instead. The thing is, and I'm projecting quite heavily into the future here, but we assume that Switching Raft is probably going to be coming out in our August set. Now, if we look into the future, we see that the first rotation in September 2018 is probably going to be Sun and Moon on. We're going to be losing none of these great switching cards. We're keeping them all. But the rotation after that is probably going to rotate to kind of, you know, Ultra Prism or Forbidden Light or something like that. And if we don't get reprints, and I know there's lots of ifs, buts and maybes here, if we don't get reprints, then maybe we lose Escape Rope, maybe we lose Floatstone, maybe at that point, Switching Raft becomes a really, really good card. So even if you look at this card and decide, you know what, I'm not loving it, I'm not a huge fan of this, bear in mind that in the future, this could keep getting better and better as existing cards get rotated out and we're left with this. Now, the other thing that we've got to mention here is the fact that it's only for water Pokemon, which could be a bit of an issue. And like with so many of these kind of cards, I'm forced to mention Tapu Lele GX. Tapu Lele GX is not a water Pokemon, but it is likely to see play in basically every deck, which means that you're not going to be able to switch it with Switching Raft as much as you are going to be able to switch all of your other Pokemon. So if you take something like an Empoleon deck, you're likely to be playing Empoleon, and you're likely to be playing Octillery, and you're likely to be playing Alolan Vulpix, which means the vast majority of your cards are going to work with this. And to give a great example, something that Switching Raft will be amazing for, let's say an Espeon GX uses a Psybeam. They're going to confuse you while doing 30 damage. You're going to want to do two things. You are going to want to get out of the active, and you're going to want to heal that 30 damage they've just done off, and you will do both of those straight away with Switching Raft. But if that Espeon instead uses Psybeam against a Tapu Lele, for instance, then you're going to be in a little bit of trouble, because then you're going to be kind of stuck there, and you can just retreat. It's only a single energy retreat. But then you've wasted an energy retreating and you haven't got rid of the damage and it gets a bit awkward. One of the things I've been saying about my Empoleon deck that I've been playing a lot on my stream, twitch.tv/PTCGRadio, is that it doesn't have enough switching options. I need to play some switching cards. And when I saw this card revealed, my very first thought was, that's the switching card I need for my deck. Because way too often in Empoleon you need Choice Band. Empoleon does 20 damage for each of your and your opponent's bench Pokemon. Both players have full benches, you do 200. Something like a Zoroark, the best card in the format, doesn't get KO'd. But if there are 9 bench Pokemon total, you've got 5, your opponent's got 4, then with a Choice Band, you will be getting a one-hit KO. You need Choice Band with Empoleon. And that is the reason why Floatstone doesn't always work in these water decks. Glaceon is another deck we could be talking about here. Really, we'd be repeating a lot of the same points, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But you want to keep switching around your active Glaceon so you keep blocking EX and GX abilities, but so you don't end up with a Pokemon in the active with too much damage on getting KO'd, so you switch around and heal with this. If you're not playing a predominantly water deck, it's kind of a moot point. You're not going to play this just to switch that one Alolan Vulpix that you're playing just on the off chance. But in any predominantly or entirely water Pokemon deck, this is now a really, really good card that you need to consider. Is it better than just playing something like Floatstone? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Is it better than playing something like Guzma? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It's a useful card. I expect it to see play in water decks. I expect it to see no play in any other decks. And for that reason, I'm giving it 4 Wassies. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's a high score, but it's a really good card in water decks. And that score is largely on potential more than what we've actually got at the moment. Will it see play at the moment? Probably not a huge amount because Escape Rope doesn't. Will it see play in the future? I am certain that it will see a lot of play in the future, and for that reason, I feel pretty confident giving it 4 Wassies. But if you disagree with me, maybe you think that's way too high, let me know in the comments section. If you agree with me and just want to say nice things, you can do so in the comments section. Do remember though, the cardinal rule that no matter what you're saying, be nice, but do feel free to go nuts. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc., then head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do that. And do check out my video game channel, Wassy Plays. There's Dragon Ball Super stuff. It's awesome. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves. Until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.